President Muhammadu Buhari signs Financial Intelligence Unit Act. As a way of sanitizing the polity, federal government launches national campaign against fake news. And Nigerian government scales up effort to put an end to piracy. A warm welcome to NTA International News. I'm Elizabeth Stober. Nigeria and the Republic of South Africa have resolved to chart a pragmatic course towards developing and deepening their relations in critical economic sectors for the benefit of the two countries. To this end, the binational commission between the two largest economies in sub-Saharan Africa is to be revitalized and reinvigorated to act beyond rhetoric for enhanced mutual beneficial engagements. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that President Muhammadu Buhari used the opportunity to give reasons for the delay in signing the Continental Free Trade Area CFTA agreement by Nigeria.
A very warm embrace and befitting diplomatic welcome for the South African leader by President Muhammadu Buhari in appreciation of his visit. Apart from international conferences, Nigeria is the first country to be visited by President Ramaphosa outside the South African sub-region in furtherance of his Africa-focused foreign policy. During the closed-door meeting, which lasted about 1.5 hours, the two leaders and their respective countries' delegations exchanged views on various areas of common interest. Specifically, ways and means of enhancing trade and economic relations for the benefit of the two countries were analyzed. At a media briefing shortly after the meeting, President Ramaphosa described good political relations as critical in achieving the desired objectives.
And we both got a sense that we are now opening a new page in the relationship between South Africa and Nigeria, and this new page gives us the opportunity to go beyond where we've been before and find a number of areas where we can reach agreement, and in this regard make sure that the benefit that should accrue to our people is actually bountiful. We are at the right place at the right time to extend the relationship between Nigeria and South Africa to a higher level.
For President Buhari, Nigeria's decision to delay the signing of the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is to ensure that national economic interests are not undermined.
We have so many young unemployed citizens, and our industries are just coming up. So in trying to guarantee employment and goods and services to our country, we have to be careful with agreements that will compete, maybe successfully, against our own upcoming industries.
President Ramaphosa used the opportunity to formally thank Nigeria for tremendously supporting the anti-apartheid struggle in his country.
Nigeria, which is 6 hours away from South Africa, was proudly regarded as a frontline state. Frontline state because it was really at the front line of our titanic struggle against apartheid. And Nigeria, and indeed Nigerians, never flinched for 1 minute in supporting our struggle.
The recurring attacks on Nigerians in South Africa, he said, are highly regrettable, but should not be considered as deliberate acts of hatred.
The Nigerians who are in South Africa are also part of our community. They can never be targeted on an intentional basis as people who must either be attacked or killed. And our government is determined to bring down the levels of criminality down and also to go after those who perpetrate these acts of criminality, so that anyone who attacks any person in South Africa will be pursued with the might of the law to make sure that they are brought to justice and to book.
The South African leader has formally extended an invitation to President Muhammadu Buhari to visit South Africa before the year runs out. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And in furtherance of his resolve towards significantly reducing the nation's infrastructure deficit for socio-economic development, the federal government has approved over 34 billion naira for roads construction across the country. Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, announced this at a media briefing after the Federal Executive Council meeting. Again, Adamu Sambo reports on this and other resolutions aimed at enhancing power supply to consumers.
With President Muhammadu Buhari presiding, the issue of infrastructure once again dominated discussions at the Federal Executive Council meeting. 4 memos presented by the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing on roads provision as arteries of development were considered and approved. One of them is for the construction of 330-meter length Ecom Bridge and connecting road in Cross River State at 8.9 billion naira. It is aimed at creating access to the port of Calabar for trucks carrying containers.
The current bridge there restricts their movement, and this will all help to facilitate further activity in the Calabar port and ease the challenges being faced by NTA.
11.7 billion naira has also been approved for expenditure on the construction of a 37-kilometer Nguru-Gashua-Biamari Road, Section 2 in Yobe State, while the 50-kilometer Ilorin-Ibetin-Kishi Road in Kwara State is to gub 8.6 billion naira. The council also granted the request by the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing to re-award the Bende Arochuku Ohafia Road at 5.4 billion naira.
Re-award in the sense that the previous contractor was unable to satisfactorily execute the project in terms of capacity and equipment, and therefore we terminated and re-awarded to a new contractor.
And in the power sector, the Transmission Company of Nigeria has secured the approval of the council to procure an automatic meter reading machine and services. The project, which comprised the installation of equipment and training of personnel to operate and manage the system, is aimed at facilitating remote reading of wholesale meters at both the custody and trading points.
The entire value chain, from where gas is produced to where it is fed into the pipes of the gencos to produce energy, to where that energy is picked up from the transmission company to the trading points at the substations of the distribution companies at the feeders, is entirely metered. And those are the bulk trading meters that we're talking about. But the challenges that we currently have are that many of these meters, or a sizable number of them, still have to be inspected manually to be read, so that then, and that is the basis for computing the settlement system at the end of the month. That causes delay in account settlement. So if this is successfully implemented, as we expect that it will be, it will eliminate all of the delays that you have. It will also help in dispute resolution, because data can be then produced quicker online to assist NEC also play its role where there are disputes about who owes what, who supplied what, and who caused what loss.
Mr. Babatunde Fashola used the opportunity to clear the air on the public outcry over the unrealistic estimated billing due to shortage or non-supply of electricity meters by power distribution companies. He said already a clear directive has been issued to the Transmission Company of Nigeria to do its job and, if need be, review or revoke licenses of non-performing parties. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has signed into law the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit Act 2018. It is aimed at enhancing renewed onslaught against corruption and other financial crimes in Nigeria.
With this presidential assent to the act, the Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit is now separated from the EFCC and domiciled in the Central Bank of Nigeria as an independent and operationally autonomous body.
The act is intended to allow this agency to collect and disseminate financial intelligence to security agencies, intelligence agencies, and other agencies which are entitled to receive it. And what they collect is, for instance, transfers of money, where money comes from, where it goes to, and other suspicious transactions, including transactions relating to terrorism financing.
The Act institutionalizes best practices in financial intelligence management in Nigeria and strengthens the existing system for combating money laundering and associated predicated offenses. The President's assent to the Act is coming less than 1 week after the signing of the Executive Order No. 6 aimed at preserving assets connected with serious corruption.
The Executive Order adds and reinforces they are complementary, they are not independent. They all come together to enable the government fight corruption.
The signing into law, the Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit Act coincides with the celebration of the World Anti-Corruption Day. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
And as Nigeria joins the rest of the continent to celebrate the African Day Against Corruption, stakeholders applauded the declaration of a state of emergency against the scourge that is hindering national development. This position was reached at the end of a walk against corruption which took place in Abuja. Ahmed reports.
To aid EFCC officials in the investigation of corrupt persons is the need to also have sound mind and body, which was demonstrated through a walk to keep fit. The Walk Against Corruption marked the Africa Day Against Corruption, took place along major streets of Abuja and terminated at the Eagle Square with slogans such as "Hand in Hand, Let's Fight Corruption," "Red Card Against Corruption," "Take a Stand Against Corruption," among others.
I want to call on all Nigerians to unite to kill corruption, because we in Nigeria in particular, if we can kill corruption, we set the pace for other African countries to follow.
We must come together. We must form alliance to fight corruption, and we are going to succeed.
This nation have gone down in terms of corrupt practices. We say no to corruption, and I will keep on saying no to corruption.
Thank you, sir.
Fighting corruption, as I said earlier here, it should not be left alone to the EFCC. It should be to all Nigerians.
With this walk against corruption, and the recent pronouncement by the President to declare total war against corruption through the creation of special court for corruption cases and the declaration of state of emergency against corruption, the corrupt people in Nigeria are in for trouble. In Abuja, Ahmed, NTA News.
The African Union over the years adopted various regulatory instruments against corruption, culminating into making Nigeria's Muhammadu Buhari to lead the vanguard against the menace on the continent. This is because corruption has remained a clog in the wheel of progress in Africa in general. As Africa marks Day of Anti-Corruption, the Nigerian Senate observes that the fight against corruption must be a collaborative and continuous process. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Unkwo reports.
Anti-corruption measures.
Shortly before the Senate commenced deliberations on the items in the order paper, Senator Chukwuka Otazi rose under mark of personal explanation to draw the attention of the legislators to the African Day of Anti-Corruption, which is celebrated every 11th of July.
And to ensure and sustain the level of commitment for combating corruption, the Assembly of African Union in 2017 declared the 2018 the African Anti-Corruption Year.
And we'll continue to pass legislations in this parliament that will support the fight against corruption. And I'm happy to announce that the NFIU bill has now been signed into law.
Thereafter, Senator Mohammed Hassan, in a motion, called on the federal government to immortalize the late Adamu Chiroma by naming a national monument in his honor for his prudence in character and public service during his lifetime.
A daring politician and one of the Nigerian leading elder statesmen who always took strong, cumulative positions on national issues.
And I wish that politicians of nowadays can imbibe the discipline and hard work of Malam Adamu Chiroma and the passion he has for this country. Chiroma stood out in the love of this country.
Absolutely a man of integrity and honesty, and has worked very, very hard to define, along with others, how Nigeria should be, what Nigeria should be, and he continued to do the same until he died.
I wish to say that on behalf of the leadership of this Senate, we condole the family of late Adamu Chiroma.
High power delegation of these hallowed chambers to condole his family and Fika Emirate in Potiskum. May the soul of this great patriot, Malam Adamu Chiroma, rest in perfect peace.
The motion by Senator David Umaru, which also invites the Attorney General and Minister of Justice to explain to the legislators at plenary Executive Order 006 and others, was adopted. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
And from the House of Representatives, the anti-corruption drive of the Buhari administration was applauded at plenary by members. However, some of the legislators called for modifications to existing laws and forfeiture of property acquired through corrupt practices coming under Executive Order 6 signed into law by the President. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports on this and other legislative matters debated on the floor of the House.
Sitting commenced with a heated debate following a motion by Representative Osai Nicholas Osai over the recently signed Executive Order No. 6 by President Muhammadu Buhari, as according to him, it tantamounts to usurping the powers of the legislature.
And a replication of subsisting legislation such as Section 8 of the Recovery of Public Property Special Provisions Act of 1983, Section 330 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act of 2015, and certain provisions of Economic and Financial Crime Commission Act.
Taking away the duty of the legislatures with that act.
Some members, however, made submissions on the constitutional powers of the President with regards to the executive order.
I went through the tenure of the motion. I came to the conclusion that the motion is not only incompetent, it is also hasty and premature.
The executive order issued by Mr. President, sequel to these 4 sections that I mentioned, is in order and constitutional.
The intendment of presidential executive orders is to enforce the law, and that is what have just been exhibited here.
The Speaker, Yakubu Dogara, puts it to question on the floor.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it.
And in the light of the World Population Day being observed by the global community, the House has adopted a motion for the conduct of the national census in 2019 in order to enhance national planning, while the Committee on Federal Capital Territory Area Councils and Auxiliary Matters submitted its report on a bill for an act to establish FCT Council Service Commission through Representative Gisalu Zephaniah. Before adjournment of Wednesday's plenary, 2 reports were considered and later adopted, one of which is on a bill for an act to make provision for mutual assistance in criminal matters between Nigeria and other foreign states. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
The former Economic and Financial Crimes Commission boss, Nuhu Ribado, has applauded the Muhammadu Buhari-led administration for taking practical steps in ensuring transparency in the oil and gas sector. Nuhu Ribado said this while speaking at a public lecture and launch of a magazine, The Value Chain, aimed at educating the public on developments in the oil sector. Hakimat Aliu has details.
According to global statistics, Nigeria is ranked amongst the 10th oil-rich countries of the world and number 1 in Africa, and oil remains one of the major resources of the country. Speaking on the theme of the lecture, Transparency, a desired but challenging culture in the Nigeria oil and gas sector, Malam Nuhu Ribadu noted that tremendous progress has been achieved in the sector under the present administration.
Transparency, as stated at the beginning of this presentation, is a desirability to everybody. You are better, safer, and free from all forms of trouble and suspicions if you take the step of conducting your business in a transparent manner.
The event featured the official public presentation of the Value Chain magazine, which is described as a bold step which will bring to the fore the challenges and prospects in the oil and gas industry.
This is a great initiative, and we need more publications that would be looking at different sectors of our economy and our society.
Nigerians need to be well informed about what is happening around them, and especially in the oil and gas sector.
I believe, with my expertise in the area of communication, we will be able to help the policymakers in the oil and industry.
The magazine, which contains analytical information and news from the nation's oil and gas sector, is a periodical publication to be accessed online and in print. In Abuja, Hakimat Aliu, NTA News.
The end to piracy in Nigeria is in sight, as the federal government is planning to employ technological means in putting a stop to the menace. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo made this known in an interactive forum held in Hollywood, Los Angeles, United States of America. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports that the Vice President assured stakeholders of adequate protection of their intellect.
The meeting formed a platform for big stars representing Nollywood in Nigeria and Hollywood in the USA. Exactly the underlying factor the meeting was called at the instance of the federal government. The attendance is huge, with various dignitaries in the creative industry present.
I want to share our value proposition about our market size, our population, how we're a leading economy in Africa.
The creative industry in Nigeria, no doubt, is making waves across Africa and beyond, and contributing to the nation's gross domestic product, but not as its counterpart, the Hollywood in America. The concern of the federal government is how to grow the industry.
That in the next couple of years, that really is where a lot of development is going to go to. And we're very anxious to get our regulation right, to get all of our laws in place, and to ensure that we're able to attract all of you who want to do business with us, especially those of you who are coming from other countries. As for the Nigerians.
The message of Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the meeting is simple and straightforward. The message for a positive turnaround from the usual to the unusual to further grow and bring success for the industry in Nigeria. Everyone attests to the capacity of Nigerians and ready to make necessary investments.
Yeah, this is wonderful, bringing Hollywood, bringing Silicon Valley together with Nigerian entertainers and entrepreneurs, and, having them in one room to rub minds and think of the way forward for Nigerian entertainment. It's very commendable. It's something that I'm really, really happy about.
I think this is saying that we need to take this sector seriously. Yes, that's what it's saying. That's the message. For the VP to say that he is coming out to Los Angeles, to Hollywood, to meet with the movers and shakers of our industry, it means it's time for show business.
I think that Africa's got a big future, and we're happy to have a meeting and discuss how incentives can take place to build the industry.
And Nigeria has a lot of potential. It's the world of creativity. It's about how do you bring it back to those audiences in a quicker way would really help. So huge potential. It's how do we get there?
It's also very important that we have reached out to the world to let them understand that Nigeria is ripe for investment.
The interaction lasts for more than 2 hours, with both sides exchanging contacts and forming a network, a positive sign for the nation's creative industry. From Beverly Hills in Los Angeles, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja. Stay tuned, we'll be back with more news. Thanks for staying with us. The federal government has formally launched a national campaign against fake news in the country. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed, while formally launching the campaign in Abuja, chronicled the dangers inherent in the practice. Anthony Forson reports.
Type of yellow journalism or propaganda that consists of deliberate misinformation or hoaxes spread through the media with the intent to mislead in order to damage an agency, entity or person for personal interests. Nigeria, being a part of the world, seems to be plagued by this fake news epidemic that is a threat to democracy, with the media being used as the channel. Even though fake news is not new, as it is said to be as old as the print media, concerns are rife given its potency for destruction. It is against this background that the federal government deemed it fit to launch a national campaign against fake news. And so, at the formal launch of the national campaign against fake news, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed said what has made fake news an issue of concern is the means and speed with which it goes viral, given the number of people who have access to mobile phones and internet. The minister cited the Osogbo Federal High Court order and some newspaper reports.
You are all aware of a recent report by the BBC, that's the British Broadcasting Corporation, that fake news circulating in the social media is fueling the farmers' herders crisis in Nigeria. Gory pictures from other lands are circulated freely via Facebook, WhatsApp, and Twitter, purportedly being from the killings in Jos or Benue State. In 2017, a fake report circulated on the social media claimed that 5 students of the College of Education, Gidanwaya, were ambushed and killed by Fulani herdsmen in southern Kaduna. That report turned out to be false. No student was killed. I can go on and on.
The minister maintained that in a multi-ethnic and multi-religious country like Nigeria, fake news is a time bomb.
In recent weeks, many anarchists have been doing everything possible to denote the bomb. But for the prudence and vigilance of Nigerians, they, the religious and ethnic bigots among us, would have set the nation on fire, especially over the farmers-herders clashes, as well as communal clashes.
Lai Mohammed said the federal government will deploy all its information tools at its disposal to create the necessary awareness about the dangers of fake news. Responding to questions from journalists who sought for clarifications, the minister did not mince his words.
People must be reminded how fake news led to the death of over 800,000 people in Rwanda alone. It was hate speech and fake news. But I think it's very important that we all even imbibe the culture of not engaging in fake news. Many people don't know the effect of fake news.
He commended the Nigerian Television Authority, the Federal Radio Corporation, and some national dailies for their role.
With the campaign formally launched now by the Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, the call is for all Nigerians to come on board in a fight against fake news. Anthony Forson, NTA News.
On the political scene now, more reactions have continued to trail the grand coalition of political parties championed by the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Timothy Yusuf reports that the Action Democratic Party, ADP, Wednesday opted out of the coalition of United Political Parties, CUP.
The People's Democratic Party, PDP, on the 9th of July 2018, in conjunction with more than 30 other political parties, signed a memorandum of understanding to field a common candidate for the 2019 general elections. Shortly after that, some of those parties in the coalition began to withdraw from it gradually. And now, Action Democratic Party, ADP, at a media briefing noted that the drivers of the coalition have nothing new to offer.
ADP is also not in a hurry to open up with those who mismanaged Nigeria for 16 years and now regrouping in an unstrategic haste to resume unprecedented loot of the nation's treasury.
For Young Progressive Party, YPP, the focal point of any such coalition should be in the interest of Nigeria and Nigerians.
Nigerians should not fall victim of this set of dealers. They are not leaders. If they were leaders, Nigeria will not be in this present state.
It will be recalled that 20 other political parties under the auspices of Coalition of Progressive Political Parties, championed by the Advanced People's Democratic Alliance, APDA, had earlier dissociated from the PDP-led coalition.
That coalition is fraud. You can see today ADP are pulling out. Many other parties are already pulling out. They mention parties that are not there. At the end of the day, there may not be more than 5. So it has fell like a pack of sugar.
Chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, Mohammed Nalado, is a member of the Coalition of Progressive Political Parties. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
In the midst of intense political activities by different political parties, including the governing All Progressives Congress, political party leaders in the country are gearing up efforts at getting their parties fully ready ahead of the general elections. This is as some political parties are already bracing to participate in the Saturday's governorship election in Ekiti State and subsequently in Osun State, scheduled for September 2018. It is on this note that the APC, under its current national leadership, decided to fulfill all requirements and formally inaugurated the Non-National Working Committee NEC members to hit the ground running. Salio Abdullahi reports.
The Non-National Working Committee NEC members of the APC are mostly those who are elected as deputies to the national officers and also involved actively in carrying out the day-to-day affairs of the party. They are taking oath of office barely 18 days after their election at the June 23rd National Convention that ushered in the new leadership of the party. National Chairman of APC, Comrade Adams Oshomole, urged party members to key into the vision of ensuring and sustaining sovereignty, solidarity and well-being of the party and the people. He says the APC in its first tenure under President Muhammadu Buhari has distinguished itself in terms of service delivery in the best interest of the citizens.
But also, this is call to duty. We haven't come here to share resources. We haven't come here to share privileges. We have come here to resume work not only for our party, but to work for the entire nation. And because we are in a governing party, we must lead by example. We must find the appetite to engage in heavy contestations and debates on policy choices.
Comrade Oshomole assured that the party is ready to provide useful ideas to promote appropriate use of privileges in party operations and encourage direct primaries to allow party members choose leaders at all levels. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi, NTA News.
Nigeria is employing creative ways of improving its capacity for productivity in key sectors of its economy. Fisayo Ogufoye in this report evaluates efforts by the current administration to ensure local competence in nuclear technology, which is a high-end vehicle for development.
Exploring the productive features of nuclear technology for national development is one of the creative interventions of the current administration, as demonstrated in Nigeria's robust and fruitful participation in the Nuclear Security Summit in 2016, led by President Muhammadu Buhari. As expected, it is a technology and competence-driven sector which is exciting but equally rewarding when internationally set guidelines are painstakingly followed. The new impetus in the nuclear energy sector in Nigeria is opening new vistas of opportunity in different sectors of the nation's economy. They include agriculture, security, science, technology, and power. But how can these low-hanging fruits become tangibles in Nigeria's quest for development? Nigeria's regulatory apparatus has been scrutinized by international assessors, with its practices given a thumbs up, while advice was given on the provision of critical infrastructure to boost research, monitoring, and evaluation in driving key sectors of the nation's economy.
The first thing that we did was the promise to the international community that Nigeria was going to designate and build a center of excellence in nuclear security. Federal government had established this center, and it is resident in the NNRA. We have taken it up from there. We at the NNRA, we have taken it up from there, and the center, we deal with training.
We will get several advantages that can help to improve our economy, that can help to improve our health, that can help to improve the availability of food on their tables, and then that government is doing everything possible to ensure that we regulate these things.
Bridging the skills gap and sensitizing key stakeholders in the critical sectors such as security, mineral exploration, and power remains a key mandate Nigeria is keen to sustain, especially as these practices will stand her in good stead when our nuclear power program comes on stream. The Nigerian Nuclear Regulatory Authority says professional skill is equally matched with political will to give the nation the development impetus it needs in the sector. In Abuja, Fisayo Ogunfuyi, NTA News.
Internally displaced persons in northeast Nigeria are going to enjoy drugs worth $1 million at the instance of the Director General of the NDE, Dr. Nasir Laden, and Health Gender Initiative based in Nigeria. The drugs were given free from Canada by Health Partner International. Emmanuel Ahimiro tells us more.
Concerned about the plight of the IDPs in the Northeast, particularly their medical challenges, Dr. Ladan, who had earlier trained 11,300 of them on various empowerment programs, has received consignment full of multivitamins, antibiotics, injectables, and other drugs.
I was in one of the biggest IDPs camp. They call it Medina 2 IDP in Maiduguri. What I saw there really shocked me. And that was when I made up my mind. I said, whatever we can do, any available opportunity we believe we can, we'll try to utilize it so that we can help them. What we have here is worth $1 million worth of drugs for free distribution to IDPs from Health Partners International of Canada.
Dr. Ladan says in the past, 2 other consignments of drugs worth $400,000 have been distributed.
We have a 40-foot container, hopefully will be in Abuja by next week, that contains about 150 brand new desktops, some mobile x-ray machines, operation beds, wheelchairs, and other medicaments. All this was given to us free.
Another good news is that the Director General of the National Directorate of Employment and Health Gender Initiative have the capacity to facilitate drugs worth over $10 million from Canada for the IDPs if waivers can be secured from the Ministry of Finance and NAFDAC. In Abuja, Emmanuel Ayemiro, NTA News.
Over 2,000 persons have been displaced with scores killed in Tabani village of Raba local government area of Sokoto state when bandits attacked the village. Noura Ibrahim Gandhi has a situation report.
Situated at the eastern part of the state and shares boundary with Maradu local government area of Zamfara state and is about 150 kilometers away from Sokoto, the state capital. The village was attacked on Monday by unknown armed bandits who stormed the village on motorcycles, shooting sporadically. The displaced persons who spoke to NTA News said the armed bandits numbering more than 50 raided the village around 3 p.m. on Monday and set the village ablaze. They said they have lost everything including foodstuff. The attack also claimed many lives. The injured are receiving treatment at Gandhi Health Center. The Sokoto State APC chairman Alhaji Isa Sadiq Achida, who led government delegation to assess the damage and the situation, says security personnel have been sent to the village to evacuate the dead bodies for formal burial and government will do everything possible to assist the displaced persons. The villages had for years suffered several attacks and instant killing by unknown gunmen, cattle rustlers and kidnapping for ransom despite the presence of security. As at the time of writing this report, more than 2,000 people have arrived Gandhi for safety and around 39 dead bodies recovered. In Sokoto, Noura Ibrahim Gandhi, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the killing of several people, including a district head in the village of Gandhi in Raba local government area of Sokoto state by bandits. In a statement by the senior special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, the president assured Nigerians that identifying and defeating the callous killers is receiving priority attention from his administration. The president extends his condolences to the government and families of the victims. 113 Boko Haram fighters have been convicted and sentenced to various terms of imprisonment in the latest trial of suspects that has just been concluded at the Wawa military cantonment in New Busa, Niger State. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okeo witnessed the trials and now reports.
This is the third visit of the Special Federal High Court Terrorism Trial Team to New Busa, Niger State, for the trial of detained Boko Haram suspects. The first visit was in October 2017, the second in February 2018, and now this one. For about 4 years, over 1,500 persons arrested in relation to the Boko Haram insurgency have been detained at the Wawa military cantonment in the far-flung western tip of Niger State. They were brought here following jailbreaks in Maiduguri and Goza in 2014 and 2015. As part of the determination of the federal government to take justice to everyone, Office of the National Security Advisor to the President, the Defense Headquarters, and the Federal Ministry of Justice constituted a joint investigation team to treat the various evidences and files of the detainees and profile charges against every one of them. That is the process that has led to the 3 trial visits leading up to this last one that has seen 113 convictions, 111 others discharged, acquitted or had their cases struck out, while 9 that were seen to deserve full trials have had their cases adjourned to Abuja. Other than its location in a military cantonment, the trial has been as open as can be in line with international standards. Are the complaints of the international bodies justified?
It's not justified because majorly the trial is open.
Trial is going on in full. You can see other government agencies who have not been here now present.
So here we go with the concluding part of the Wawa cantonment trial of Boko Haram suspects. The next phase is expected to take place in Maiduguri. But in between that, the ones that have been discharged here are expected to go into the Gombe Center for their de-radicalization program. Femi Okeo, NTA News.
You're still watching the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja. We'll bring you more reports after this time out. Stay with us.
If you travel around the world, you will find out that there is no place like Nigeria. Beautiful, peaceful, very warm and friendly climate all year round. largest concentration of black people in the world. Hospitable, vibrant, and happy people. There is no place like Nigeria, a land of opportunities, the biggest window in the world of business and investments. Extremely rich in multicultural diversity. There is no place like Nigeria.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
NTA International News. Africa as it is.
Now, for news from the financial sector, here is Musa Baba Aliu.
Hello there. It is that time to talk business. Let's turn our attention to agribusiness. The Nigerian textile industry will receive a boost as federal government agencies intensify efforts towards boosting cotton production in the country. Field trial on the new improved variety of cotton will soon be released and commercialized.
We think that BT cotton is one product that will save that industry and bring them back into action so that thousands of people who are not employed as a result can go back to their jobs.
I think it is time that, yes, we consider technology to help us improve the yields and profitability of cotton for our smallholder farmers.
In another development, scientists are advocating the adoption of science and technology for the production of food for local consumption and for export. This is coming as demand for Nigerian produce from other African countries is on the increase, stressing that Nigeria will generate more revenue through the export of produce.
And technological advancement to be able to feed the growing population. And any person who stands in the way of this advancement is either an economic saboteur or is a political saboteur.
I am Musa Baba Aliyu. Enjoy the rest of the news.
Thank you, Musa. Now, recovery of assets remains an important source of domestic resource mobilization towards meeting the Sustainable Development Goals. Hadiza Najat Atutijani reports that global effort at implementing the fight against corruption is gaining momentum as stakeholders commemorate Africa Anti-Corruption Day with a roundtable on asset recovery.
Lost through looting, tax evasion and other illicit financial flows are all recoverable under laws and can lead to realization of sustainable development goals. However, a significant amount of this loot is outside Africa's jurisdiction. The Roundtable is providing a platform to discuss a legal framework aimed at improving asset recovery, return and use in African countries. Stakeholders who agree that this administration is progressing in the fight against corruption also agree that definite action must be taken to address obstacles to asset recovery from international law enforcement agencies.
Their banking law, let them amend it. Let them stop this issue of non-disclosure clauses in the opening of accounts by foreigners in their country.
At the end of the day, you don't even get a salary or a minimum wage that can take you home. Yet, our political elites continue to amass enormous wealth.
I mean, with the president coming into office in 2015, he made it clear that fighting corruption is one of the critical agenda for him. And he set out to, first of all, strengthen the anti-corruption institutions.
Despite these advancements, there is still a debate about Executive Order Number 6, which seeks to restrain owners of assets under investigation from carrying out transactions on such assets.
So that order is directly saying to anti-corruption agencies, priority, when you are fighting corruption, from the point of investigation to prosecution, make sure that you focus on the assets.
Section 315 of the Constitution empowers the president or the governor of a state to issue executive orders, to make any law to conform with the Constitution. Those who issue the order will have to go back to the drawing table and consult.
There is agreement within the African Union, however, that the dynamic of aid will change to rights, fairness and justice once illicit financial flow is arrested. In Abuja, Najat Atutijani, NTA News.
On the international scene, NATO leaders and their allies are currently meeting in Brussels as tension continues to rise between member countries on allegation of lack of spending by President Donald Trump. For this and other stories trending across the globe, let's join Ado also.
Thank you and warm welcome. More than 40 heads of governments, including 29 member states and non-member partners, are meeting in Brussels Wednesday for a two-day NATO summit amid mounting tension over defense spending between U.S. President Donald Trump and European leaders. The first biennial NATO summit at its new billion-dollar headquarters opens with the alliance united over accusations that Russia is trying to destabilize the West with an offensive that includes cyber attacks, covert and non-so-covert actions. To Africa now, talks between Togo's governments and the country's political opposition resumed on Wednesday after a 3-month suspension. The presidents of Ghana and Guinea, Nana Akufo-Addo and Alpha Conde, arrived in Lomé to further the political dialogue started in February. The Togolese presidency in a statement indicates that at the end of the talks, participating parties will make suggestions to the next heads of states and governments meeting of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. But the presidency warned the opposition and the mediators that no decision will challenge the constitutional status quo. And Japan's government says 176 people have been confirmed dead after last week's heavy rains in western Japan as Prime Minister Shinzo Abe visited hit city. Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga said on Wednesday that Abe will visit an evacuation center in Kuroshiki, a city where a river broke through an embankment and swept through residential areas, killing more than 40 people. Tens of thousands of rescue and recovery workers and volunteers are digging through the debris as the search for dozens still missing enters its 5th day. That is it from here. The news continues.
And talking sports now, Nigeria Para Swimming Federation seeks support for its program and National Under-17 Girls Soccer Championship ends in Oyo. Kene Ima Abundike has more on Sports Update.
The Nigeria Para Swimming Federation has appealed for massive support from Nigerians and the corporate world as it bids to make her debut at this year's National Sport Festival in December in Abuja, as well as the World Championships billed for October in Germany.
These are the people that refuses to go and beg. They don't want to be miscreants. They want to develop the talents God has given them. So what do? Let us give them the required support.
President of Nigeria Hockey Federation Abdul Ninge says adequate preparations are being made to ensure that the nation conquers the continent at the forthcoming 3rd Africa Youth Games in Algiers, Algeria, July 18 to 28.
Part of why we have fallen back in previous phases was because we have not adequately taken care of the youth processes. But now we have realized that.
Team Delta State in green and blue jersey have won this year's National Under-17 Girls Football Tournament after beating Team Akwa Ibom State 5-3 via penalties in the final at Ilaji Stadium. Team Edo State also beat their Oyo State counterparts in penalties to finish 3rd.
And Culture Minister Lai Mohammed, while launching the campaign in Abuja, chronicled the dangers inherent in the practice.